Jaya Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Giraj Govardhana Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What text are we on? Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 12. Vibuddha Sura Gandharva, Vibuddha Sura Gandharva, Muni Siddha Naroraga, Muni Siddha Naroraga, Vijita Suryaya Dikshu, Vijita Suryaya Dikshu, Kvanayant Yaivana Purai, Kvanayant Yaivana Purai, Kvanayant Yaivana Purai, Vibuddha Sura Gandharva, Muni Siddha Naroraga, Vijita Suryaya Dikshu, Kvanayant Yaivanu Purai. Devotees, Vibuddha Sura Gandharva, Muni Siddha Naroraga, Vijita Suryaya Dikshu, Kvanayant Yaivanu Purai, Vibuddha Sura Gandharva, Muni Siddha Naroraga, Vijita Suryaya Dikshu, Kvanayant Yaivanu Purai. Vibuddha, learned, Asura, the demons, Gandharva, the denizens of Gandharva Loka, Muni, great sages, Siddha, the denizens of Siddha Loka, Nara, the inhabitants of the earthly planets, Uraga, the denizens of Naga Loka, Vijita, captivated, Suryaya, by the new bride, Dikshu, in all directions, Kvanayantya, tinkling, Eva, only, Nupurai, by her ankle bells. Sounds intriguing. While Satadruti was thus being married, the demons, the denizens of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, and the denizens of Siddha Loka, the earthly planets, and Naga Loka, although highly exalted, were all captivated by the tinkling of her ankle bells. Repeat. While Shatadruti, was thus being married, the demons, the denizens of Gandharva Loka, great sages, and the denizens of Siddha Loka, the earthly planets, and Nagaloka, although highly exalted, were all captivated by the tinkling of her ankle bells. Purport and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Generally, a woman becomes more beautiful when, after an early marriage, she gives birth to a child. To give birth to a child is a natural function of a woman, and therefore a woman becomes more and more beautiful as she gives birth to one child after another. In case of Shatadruti, however, she was so beautiful that she attracted the whole universe at her marriage ceremony. Indeed, she attracted all the learned and exalted demigods simply by the tinkling of her ankle bells. This indicates that all the demigods wanted to see her beauty completely. But they were not able to see it because she was fully dressed and covered with ornaments. Since they could only see the feet of Shatadruti, they became attracted by her ankle bells, which tinkled as she walked. In other words, the demigods became captivated by her simply by hearing the tinkling of her ankle bells. They did not have to see her complete beauty. It is sometimes understood that a person becomes lusty just by hearing the tinkling of the bangles of the hands of a woman, or the tinkling of ankle bells, or just by seeing a woman's sari. Thus it is concluded that woman is the complete representation of Maya, or Krishna. Why this for us? Although Vishvamrita Muni was engaged in practicing mystic yoga with closed eyes, his transcendental meditation was broken when he heard the tinkling of bangles on the hands of Menaka. In this way, Vishvamitra Muni became a victim of Menaka and fathered a child who is universally celebrated as Shakuntala. The conclusion is that no one can save himself from the attraction of a woman, even though he may be an exalted demigod or the inhabitant of a higher planet. Only a devotee of the Lord who is attracted by Krishna can escape the lures of a woman. Once one is attracted by Krishna, the illusory energy of the world cannot attract him. Vibhuta Sura Gandharva Muni Siddha Naroraka Vijitta Suryaya Dikshu Kvanayantyeva Nupurai. While Shatadruti was thus being married, the demons, the denizens of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, the denizens of Siddha Loka, the earthly planets, and Nagaloka, although highly exalted, were all captivated by the tinkling of her ankle bells. Om Gyanatimmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuva Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Kadambakana Swami Namine. Yeah, a verse like this, and you give me no preparation, I do not take responsibility whatever comes out now. These verses are hard to read and hard to digest because they seem extremely sexist. They appear to be, on the surface, really sexist. Is it Shatadruti's fault for wearing ankle bells? Should women not wear ankle bells? Is this what the verse is telling us? The thing is that it's considered that a woman without jewelry, this is told to me by, don't look, I got no jewelry, told to me by Dinabandhu Prabhu, is that a woman is considered auspicious when she wears bangles. And then he was looking at my bare hands, which is still bare. I can do earrings, I just can't do bangles. But she's considered auspicious when she's wearing gold, when she's wearing bangles. And so therefore, is the problem Menika's, is the problem Shatadruti's ankle bells? Well, yes and no. Because both men and women fall prey to the lustful tendency. Both men and women do. Both men and women fall prey to the idea of beauty. These denizens, they are Nagaloka, which means the planets of the snakes. They have snake-like bodies. Earthly planets, Nara. At least we feature here. Hey, cameo appearance in the Bhagavatam. The inhabitants of the earth planet, Gandharva Loka. The Gandharvas, the ones who sing, Siddha Loka, and the great sages. It says here, the great sages. So if you're going in the levels of the universe, you're now going onto like the Brahma Loka's levels where the great sages reside. All of them, attracted to the sound of her ankle bells. Must be very powerful ankle bells. I really would like to know what sort of ankle bells creates this. It's not the ankle bells. It's not the ankle bells. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would say, if you squeeze an orange, what do you get? Orange juice. You cannot get, rooibos tea. You squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. These ankle bells, they're squeezing the hearts of all these men. And what's coming out is lust. And lust can only come out if it is in the heart. An orange can only give you orange juice. Of course, not only lust is residing in the heart. We can see that these are elevated beings, So it's not just lust that's in the heart, But it is there because they are beings in the material world. And because they are beings in the material world, they experience lust. So, she was there walking around a fire sacrifice, in the process of getting married. She wasn't trying to do a catwalk down, she wasn't trying to walk down the catwalk of Miss Universe, wanting to attract all their attention. She was completely covered. She was completely covered. But the mind is such that it finds something. And if I can't see her body, then I can see her feet. And if I can see her feet, then it must be the sound of the ankle bells. But it's only the orange juice. It's only the lust that resides in the heart. At the same time, women are not exempt from it. There is beauty, and those that know how to manipulate that beauty have a certain power. Dhammakana Swami would say, that a beautiful woman would know how to wrap man around her finger using her beauty. And so therefore, both men and women have the responsibility that even if I understand that my beauty can make somebody weak in their knees, I don't use it, I don't weaponize it. I don't weaponize it to do that. That doesn't mean I can't use ankle bells. It doesn't mean I can't use ankle bells. It means it is not my intention. It's not my intention to use these ankle bells to charm your mind. But I can still use my ankle bells, And if that's not my intention, if they have that effect on your consciousness, that's on you. That's not on me. And so, there's an indication here. What should we have done with Shatadruti? What should we have done? Put her in a closet somewhere? Never give her ankle bells? Make her wear shoes in the fire sacrifice so that they don't get to see her ankles? What should we have done? No, it's a live and let live system. So yes, a woman must understand that her beauty has power, and she should not weave it to manipulate. But a man and a woman should understand that they are responsible for their own consciousness. And I guess also it is a verse that is giving us relief, in a sense, to understand that everybody is affected by the influence of lust. It's just like that. It's like that. We are wired that way. So when we pretend we don't, or we pretend that we're not, then what happens is we create a Hare Krishna image. No, me? I don't mind ankle belts. I'm never affected by the ankle belts. And then somebody new walks in and they say, nobody else is affected by ankle belts. Only I am affected by ankle belts. Must be something wrong with me. But like Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj said yesterday, when the devotee went up to Srila Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, now that I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm in the temple, I don't feel any of the sexual attraction. Prabhupada said, oh, something's wrong with you? Just so, not that we have to put it on a billboard, but we should be honest with where we are at in spiritual life, because it gives other people the permission to be honest and not to feel demonized by the fact that we have a high process and high ideals and we're still maybe on the lower rungs, if I'm speaking for myself. Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhana, Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Giriraj. So, also the sneaky nature of lust is being exposed here. Because, and this is interesting because it's not the Kali Yuga verse that would say this, but this woman appeared more beautiful because she was covered. Because she was covered, it left more of what they couldn't see, enamored them, more than what they could see. And so that is one thing. And yet, it is not that women now need to not be beautiful, that you need to only wear the tornest cotton sari in your drawer in fear of who's going to be attracted by the hem. It just can't be. If we do that, we alienate an entire gender. And we, on the same hand, empower the lust in the next gender's heart. We empower it. Because now I don't have to look at myself. It's you with your ankle belts. We eliminate the responsibility. Like, take this with a grain of salt. We all watch the Nishinga movie, and we watch how Deity is afflicted by lust, and she moves. She goes to Kasyapa, and she woos him a bit, telling him that that she desires to unite with him, and he gives a good reasoning. No, this is not the time. No, there'll be bad omens. But in the end, they do unite. And then later, according to the movie, he gets his vision and he sees that it's going to be, your little babies are going to be Ranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and they're going to terrorize the universe. And then she's totally repentant. But in the movie, you see that he blames her. He blames her because she wanted the union. But it takes two. It takes two. And Kadama Muni, being a Muni, although, had to consent, and he gave his consent. And so one has to wonder, that he also has responsibility in this. Because he could have said no. He could have said no. And so, of course, he may have had reasons. But the truth, the reason why I'm bringing it forward is because lust is the responsibility of both genders. And so when Srila Prabhupada says here that the woman is the complete personification, representation of Maya, thus it is concluded that woman is the complete representation of Maya. Why? What is Prabhupada saying with that? Maya herself, is considered illusion. And she is represented by Durga Devi. And Durga Devi is not a demon. She's a Vaishnav. She's a representation of the Supreme Lord. She has a service that she is doing in this material world in service to Krishna. She has the thankless service of keeping the souls here and covering them in illusion until they choose to or want to be released and are at the proper standards of being released, or Krishna says, just release them, until one of those conditions happen. But herself as Maya, she isn't illusion. It's those who are seeing her, who are seeing her as illusion, or who are under the spell of her illusionary energy. But she is not vicious in that illusion. She's simply carrying out a service. So when Prabhupada is saying woman is the complete representation of Maya, he is saying that the power that women have in terms of their beauty, which is powerful because it's coming from Srimati Radharani, the ultimate beauty, is there in the female gender. But it also depends on where our attraction is. It's not just the female form, it's where our attraction is. If you're not heterosexual, then that's not your attraction. Does that mean that you'll never be enamored by the complete representation of Maya? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. It's just that, And like Maharaj was mentioning in the animal species, the little male pig is attracted to the little female pig because he finds her attractive. And similarly, and this is one thing I have, the Bhagavatam seldom speaks that women are also attracted to the male form for whatever reason. And for the woman, the male form is the complete personification of Maya. Maya is not in the objects, in our eyes. It's in our eyes. And the problem is that if we read these texts with immature consciousness, then we tend to objectify. And our movement is not a movement of objectification. Our movement is a movement of you're not this body, you're a spirit soul. So under the guise of all the philosophy, underneath we can really harbor strong objectification. Because we're seeing, that's Maya, don't look. You can close your eyes. It won't change anything. Today I was thinking, don't ever put me on the spot. Today I was thinking about how not to kill any Vaishnavas. Because whenever I'm in a project and it's getting to the intense point, I go into manager mode and I can be rough. So I'm thinking, okay, Rukmini, just don't kill any Vaishnavas today, right? But then I was thinking, no, that doesn't work. If I say, I'm not going to kill the Vaishnavas, please, I'm joking here, I'm not really going to kill any, I'm not pulling an Indra, I'm not going to kill any Vaishnavas. But if I say, I'm not going to kill the Vaishnavas, it's just not going to work because I'm struggling to not do a negative. So I said, okay, can't your heart just appreciate the Vaishnavas so much that you wouldn't desire to kill them? You wouldn't want to, snap, So I thought, okay, that's a better meditation. That's a better meditation, really. Just can we appreciate, And so it's a fine line, but if we honor the opposite gender, honor that they have Vaishnavas and that they are offering service to Krishna and they are Krishna's property, that's a better mood and mentality than to just think that Mataji who walked in the Sunday program with her loud ankle belts, she's trying to attract all the men on the other side. Does that help your consciousness in any way? Does it really help your consciousness in any way? No. You just hear the ankle bells louder. But to think that, but to try and honor the Vaishnav in every individual, together with whatever may be there. Because it doesn't come alone. We can see the faults so easily because you know why? Because they are in us. That's why we notice it. And so therefore, we just honor the Vaishnava. If we honor the Vaishnava, then we can come to this point where Prabhupada is saying Only a devotee of the Lord who is attracted by Krishna can escape the lures of a woman. And I'll add the lures of a woman or a man. A woman may be lured, a man may be lured by a woman's beauty. A woman is lured by a man's false sense of security. If this person's with me, then all my problems will be solved. Both sides are thinking the same thing, But the thing is that the woman has to understand that despite whatever protection she has, ultimately you're dependent on Krishna. And the man has to understand that whatever beauty is attracting our minds, ultimately we have to be attracted to Krishna because that beauty will fade quickly. Quickly. And what's beauty for one is not beauty for another. It's so subjective. But the beauty itself is not the problem. Because that beauty is Srimati Radharani's beauty in a reflected form. And she's meant to be beautiful. Because she's Madan Mohan Mohini, attracting Krishna, who's the attractive Cupid. That beauty is deeply spiritual. And so when a man falls prey to that beauty, then he is under the complete representation of Maya. And when a woman weaponizes that beauty, then she is under the complete representation of Maya. It works both ways. So, sorry. And the examples are given here of Vishwamitra Muni and how he became enamored by the bangles of Menaka. And Prabhupada says that the conclusion is that no man can save himself from the attraction of a woman. And equally, that means no woman can save herself from the attraction of a man. And what that means is that the emphasis in that verse is we can't save ourselves. And that means we go to, Hey Govinda, Krishna save me. Krishna is the all-attractive. And if Krishna wants, then we can perceive how he is all-attractive. And when we perceive how he is all-attractive, then only does the material energy not appeal to us. Because that's the only way. That's the only way. Remember, there's some story in the Puranas, I don't remember the names, but there was a sage who had a son, and the son, he grew up in like an island without any woman. And so the son just grew up as a brahmachari. But then there was another group, and I don't remember the details of the story, but there was another group who wanted, for some reason, that son not to be celibate. I think they were worried he was getting too powerful or something, And then they sent a woman to him, and on a boat or something. Again, the details are sketchy. But the point is that even though he's had no contact with women in his entire life, when he first sees the form of a woman, the natural desires arise. And so the point that I'm trying to make is that neither gender can put ourselves in boxes and just don't look. Of course, my spiritual master would say, first look, okay, second look is lust. So you don't entertain it. We don't entertain, meditate, fantasize the lust in our minds, right? So first look, okay, But you can't cage yourself into a space where, Vishwamitra Muni who was under the water again? Shaunaka Muni. No. Forgive me, I had to go improv, huh? Vishwamitra Muni says the victim of Menaka, but the one with the fish, it's with an S. There's a Kund in Vrindavan. My brain is not brainy. It's close, but the word sounds right. But anyway, the Muni with the S. He was underwater, right? Underwater. Like, you're not going to see Subari Muni. Yes. You're going to Subari Muni. Yeah. And like, underwater. And what does he see? 2 fish mating. That's it. Fish. Like it's just fish. What we have to see in Kali Yuga. And it breaks his meditation. So it's like we cannot isolate, box, or cage ourselves. However, it doesn't mean that we don't protect ourselves. It doesn't mean that we don't protect ourselves. If we know that we are going to be influenced in certain ways, maybe we don't watch certain things. If we know that I'm really vulnerable, then we're not going to just put ourselves in isolated places with the opposite sex. So yes, you can protect yourself, but just watch your consciousness. Because if your consciousness is becoming to victimize the opposite sex, because how dare they, it's like, God, it's like, because both, again, responsibility for our own consciousness. So if the guy thinks, I'm attracted just because a woman never covered her head and because she wore ankle belts, but it's okay for the pujari to be half dressed on the altar, but the woman shouldn't be attracted. You have to take responsibility for your own consciousness. And at the moment you start victimizing another gender, know that you're not releasing yourself from the grips of lust. You're just entangling yourself more. And it comes up like that bouncing ball thing, try to push a ball underwater. Just comes up with more force. And that is a specific reason why in religious institutions, the more sexual depravities have emerged. In the church, and our institution is not exempt, in the churches, in the mosques, that's where you find it, because people are trying, there's a difference between repressing desire and rising above desire, and it will challenge all of us. And it's important that we can be honest and kind to each other, because we all face the same challenge. But the other side of it is that it's important in our Krishna consciousness that we are finding beauty. We're finding beauty and we're finding joy, because that is the only way we are safe. We are only safe if we find beauty and joy in Krishna consciousness. Now, Srimati Radharani, she is the embodiment of the Hladini Shakti. Hladini Shakti of Krishna, which is the energy of joy. And that's interesting, isn't it? Because on one hand, woman is a complete representation of Maya. On the other hand, Srimati Radharani is a personification of joy. And if by her blessings, and that means, the blessings of Lord Chaitanya, blessings of the entire parampara, because we are Radha Dasya, by her blessings, the joy of devotion can manifest in our heart. And when that joy of devotion manifests in our heart, then our mind is less attracted to the mundane. And that's what rising above means. You'd see that in the groups of the gopis, they're called, what's the word? Yuktas? The different groups of the gopis. In Srimati Radharani's group, Lalita is actually the head gopi. She is sort of in charge, and she's also 2 days older than Radharani, so she can do that. And Lalita Devi, she is directly serving Lalita Devi is Rupa Manjari, and we know that Rupa Manjari in our lineage is Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami is also direct servant of Lord Chaitanya within Chaitanya Leela. And from Rupa Goswami, from Lord Chaitanya comes the Goswamis and comes the whole lineage of our parampara. So wherever we fit in devotion, we are linked to our spiritual master, who's linked to his spiritual master, who's linked to Prabhupada, who's linked to all the acharyas, going back to Rupa Goswami, who's linked to Lalita, who's in Radharani's group. So therefore, we are Radha Dasya. Ultimately, in the evolution sense, in the broad sense, we are servants of Srimati Radharani. Of course, immediately we are servants of spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, but we are in that line. So therefore, it is possible for us, to approach Srimati Radharani and beg her that this Hladini Shakti of hers can manifest a little bit in our hearts so that we are not so prey to the material energy, because it doesn't take much. My spiritual master would say that, in Kali Yuga, we look at ourselves like, yay, getting to Mangal Arti, chanting my 16 rounds, following the 4 regular principles, first initiation, second initiation, going good, and all along, Lord Chaitanya is there manifesting thousands of arms, just pushing Maya out of the way to keep us devotees. Because literally, if she wanted to, and because she knows our entire mind and knows all our weaknesses, if she wanted to, it'll take a second to put in front of us everything that we ultimately desired, and boom. It wouldn't take much. But we are protected by this energy. We're protected by this spiritual energy as long as we take shelter of it. So the bigger question to ask is not who's the personification of Maya on the other side of the temple room, but the bigger question to ask is, where and why am I taking shelter of the material energy? Where and why am I taking shelter of the material energy? Because we are to some degree, you have a long day, whether it's at work or whether even if it's in devotional service, and at the end you just and you're just aimlessly scrolling on your phone because your brain wants to switch off. A need, but it's also where we take shelter of the material energy. It's I'm not saying that's illegal. I'm just saying an example. It's an example that when push comes to shove, it's Krishna that we have to take shelter of. But if we're not taking shelter, if we're taking shelter of our own minds, then the Hladini Shakti doesn't get a chance to manifest. Because the safest devotee is a happy devotee. And a happy devotee has to be happy in devotional service. Now the thing is that devotional service, we don't just operate in it in a spiritual bubble. We operate it with other people who are also getting purified in the realm of devotional service, and we all together getting purified together, and it's kind of like rocks in a barrel, and they're all just rubbing against each other. And you would think that the worst of the worst come out. But we can't lose sight that the rocks in the barrel, they want to be devotees. That's why they put themselves in the barrel. They know they're going to rub against each other, But we've put ourselves in that position for the rough edges to come off. And it's in the rubbing, when you're rolling down the hill, the barrel's rolling down the hill, that the rough edges get smooth. And the thing is, if you say, no, I'm taking myself out of the barrel, great, you'll be happy, maybe. But the edges never get smooth. And wherever you go, the rough edges are still there. Of course, when it starts to become where you think you're going to kill a Vaishnava, then jump out of the barrel. Don't kill any Vaishnava. Okay, I'm going to stop here and we'll take any thoughts or comments or questions. Shatadruti was thus being married. The demons and the denizens of Gandharva Loka, the great sages and the denizens of Siddha Loka, the earthly planets and Naga Loka, although highly exalted, were all captivated by the tinkling of her ankle bell. Any thoughts?
Hare Krishna.
It's okay, it's just a mic. You're used to a mic.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. That was beautiful. I have a comment, not a question. I really liked it. It's a very beautiful. I mean, it's a heavy, it's a heavy verse. But my point was, my comment was, I wanted to emphasize, to add on what you said about how most religious institutions have normalized. I would like to use the word normalized. Have normalized the sense of sexualizing women, and I feel like that on its own, it's triggering to men, you know, because if once I was reading Prabhupada's books, and there's a line that stayed with me even today. Prabhupada said something to, I think it was in SSR, I'm not sure where, but it's somewhere where Prabhupada was having a conversation. And then Prabhupada said this line, he said, I can be in a room full of naked women and I won't be disturbed, but you cannot. So it is our responsibility as human beings to watch our thoughts, to watch our consciousness. Another example, if you strangle a person's, if you harm a Vaishnava, if you kill a Vaishnava, I'm kidding. If you strangle a person, the first thing you run out of, it's consciousness. Before anything else, you run out of consciousness first. So consciousness is the most important thing, but we miss it. We miss it. We miss it as people. And yeah, and another thing I wanted to add was that yes, we are not aware as people that the Cold War is over, but now it's like a spiritual war. And the spiritual war, it's imminent, it's serious. As the devotees, we are fortunate because we can get, association, and this and here and there. But the spiritual war is really imminent. And if you can look at how the system of today is placed, every child has a phone. 90% of the internet is porn. So, 90% of the internet is porn. 5% of it is knowledge, 5% it's nonsense and lies. So it's a spiritual war. But then you get those days when you woke up early and you did your rounds, you woke up early and you did your rounds, and there's no one in your bed books. And you're not on anyone's bed books, or so you think. There's those days. And then you have that morning. And then you realize how beautiful spiritual life is. Anyway.
Those mornings, we're graced by the Hladini Shakti.
Jai Prabhupada. That was
Thank you so much. Anybody else have thoughts they want to share? Okay. Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande.